Hi everybody, Rusty Blackwood here, and I'd like to welcome you to my loft once again. I probably should begin by saying Happy New Year. Um, Here we are, second last day of the first month of 2023, and it has just flown past, like so many months seem to do anymore. Um, but what you going to do about it? There's nothing you can do about it. And so anyway, I'd like to welcome you again today. It's the second last day of the month, as I said, and I thought I would drop by and do a short video just to check in with everybody and catch up. As I say, since I haven't been doing a newsletter every month, um, I tend to, whatever I have to talk about, I do it in a video. And um, and so here we are. And the day after tomorrow is the 1st of February. And, for the shortest month of the year, it can often be the most difficult month of the year in different ways. Weather-wise, it can be the most nasty month of the year. But we get what we get, and we will cope with it the best that we can. And there's really nothing else that we can do. Um, well, I suppose we could always pack up and move to, Costa Rica or some place closer to the equator. Uh, if you wanted to do that. But I don't really think I would want to live anywhere where I never saw the seasons change. Um, we have 4 seasons, and each one has its specialness, its own beauty, and its own um, positive things. Um, I would have to admit that winter is not my favorite season of the year. When I was a kid, I used to really like winter. I think most all kids do because they don't feel the cold like you do when you start to get older. And whereas now I don't like that cold, and I don't like the dampness. If it wasn't for that, I mean, I don't mind snow. I like to look out and see snow. I like to even go outside and walk in the snow. I like to go for walks when it's a light snow falling. Um, the air is so crisp and clean, and it covers all the drabness that's around, and the decay and the dirt and everything that's laying around, waiting to spring to come and brighten everything up again. And so in that respect, I think winter can be a beautiful season, especially in the country, like not in the city. There's not a lot of good things that I have to say about a city, any city. Um, I mean, I live in a city because of necessity. I have to. But if I had the chance, I would go back to the country in the blink of an eye. And you look out over the fields and that are snow covered, and it's just as far as the eye can see, it's snow, and it's clean, and covers up, as I said, all the drabness that like crops that are taken off, and it's just like with corn crops, it's the stubble that's left, and and everything is very flat, and it just if the snow covers it, and you get all these different patterns and rises and where it rises up and it falls from what it's covering to something that's lower than maybe something where it's sitting on that's higher. And and so, but it's a season when you live in Canada, no matter where you live in Canada, um, you have a certain amount of cold. The more north you go, of course, the colder it is, and the more snow you usually get. The more north you go, and and when you go out west, it's not. You don't have that dampness. They are drier. The provinces, the prairie provinces are dry. The air is dry out there. Now it can be bitterly cold, but you don't notice it. It doesn't bother you the same because you don't have all the dampness. Ontario has got to be the dampest province in Canada. Now, I've never been out west. I've been to the east. I've been right out to the Atlantic, and and for a province, I've been to Nova Scotia. I've been to New Brunswick, and I've been to PEI, and I was never to Newfoundland, but maybe someday. But I so far I can't say that I have been there. But when I was there, of course, I've never been there in wintertime. So I have no experience in that respect, speaking about it that way. Um, but when I was there, it's always been in the summer that I've been there. And it's not damp. You would think for some place that is right on the ocean, especially Prince Edward Island, it's completely surrounded with water, but it's not damp. And I don't know if this would explain it, but there's you don't you don't feel the dampness possibly because you're surrounded by salt water, um, which maybe makes a difference. If anybody's watching that might have the proper explanation of why that would be, please comment below. Let me know, and maybe anybody else who's watching this video. Um, but that's what I was thinking, whereas here in Ontario, it's all fresh water, and it's everywhere. Like here on the peninsula, Niagara is on a peninsula, and we're surrounded on three sides by water and fresh water, and and throughout the entire province, there's rivers and tributaries and streams and lakes, small lakes, large lakes, and and it's just water everywhere. And I think naturally that attributes to the dampness for sure. And whereas the other provinces, um, I mean, Quebec has a fair amount of water places in it as well, but and fresh water as well. And in Ontario, the only place you're going to find, oh, say hello to George. This is George. He is he is a new kitty that is in my life. He doesn't belong to me. He belongs to my son and daughter-in-law and my granddaughter who share the house here with me. And and there's another kitty too. This one here, he's he's marked so nice. He just looks like he's wooden. He's streamlined with wood. And the other one is gray and white, a little different variety of cat altogether. And her name is Dream, and she doesn't come up here very often. But George comes and spends a lot of time with me up here in the loft, and he's such a vibrant, active kitty, and knows what no means. But he's a typical little boy. He's not going to listen. He's going to have his way, and so I have a trusty water bottle handy. It's the only thing that seems to deter him from doing what he's not supposed to do. You tell him, you tell him no, and he looks at you like, well, you can say no, and I know what it means, but I'm going to have my way until you lift up the water bottle, and then he starts to behave himself. He quiets down, or he just leaves, whatever, like he did just now. And so it's kind of cool to be able to share him with you on a video here. And so as I say, I was talking about the provinces and the water, the amount of water that we have in certain areas, and I think that that's part of the reason why in the wintertime it is so um, damp and cold in Ontario, is because of all the water that's everywhere. And for me, I find that it bothers me. It bothers my joints and my bones, and and I have spoken to a lot of people, and not people that are my age, but much younger, that say the same thing, and and definitely people that are much older than I am. Um, you know, they just stay indoors. They don't go outside much, and they just sort of ride it out until spring comes, and then they'll venture out. So, but anyway, um, the day after tomorrow, as they say, is the first day of February, and for me, um, the first day of February is a very sad day because it is the day that my father passed away in 1975, and that when I think about it, that's 48 years ago, and a very, very long time. And when I think about Daddy now, um, I have my moments, even yet, after all this time, where I think about him and um, I get I get choked up, I get teary-eyed, and I have a little cry, and then I'm okay. But I've got so many wonderful memories of my father um, that they're comforting. And that's one thing I think that good memories do for you. It when you recall them, it helps you to cope with the way you're feeling when they come to you, and they help to buck you up, and smile comes to your lips because you remember something special that happened, or some special place and things. And of course, for me, as many of you know, our family band, the Midnight Ramblers, um, Dad played the fiddle for that band, and we were all family, my brother and I and my father, and three of our first cousins who were brothers to each other, and so for us it was a very special time, and we went all over Ontario and well, southern Ontario. We didn't go much out of southern Ontario, southwestern Ontario, I should say. Where I live now is considered southern Ontario, but where I was born and grew up was southwestern Ontario, and so we toured all around back there, and mostly for dances. We didn't do too many hotels. Like we just, the only one that I recall right off the top of my head, all these years later, that we did was the old McIntyre Hotel in Dutton, a little out of the way place, but a lot happened there. It was for a small little town. It was a popular little town for those who lived there and those who lived around it that came there, and for whatever, to shop or just to come and have some fun. And so, but I wrote a documentary on the Midnight Ramblers this past summer, and as I have spoken of, that it's just in a PDF form, and it is free for anyone who might like to download it, um, that might like to learn about that band and learn about that time in my life, and what it was like, and so you can email me at writerrusty@hotmail.ca and request a copy of it if you would like, and I would be more than welcome to send one to you, share one with you. And so that brought back a lot of memories when I wrote that, and I wrote that specifically for my cousin Harold Beecroft, who was the drummer of the Midnight Ramblers and square dance caller. He used to call square dances, and he used to take his turn at the mic singing whatever songs that he wanted to do on a particular night. And Harold was quite a bit older than me. Harold passed away this past September on the 19th, and um, he was 89. So, I mean, he had a really good long life. And but Harold, I had a kind of a special connection with Harold. He always seemed to be my protector, and because I was only 13 when I started to sing with the family band. I started out just singing a couple of songs a couple of times a night, and then I graduated to playing rhythm guitar, and eventually ended up being the bass guitarist for the band. And so, but Harold was just always, if I found myself in a kind of a sticky situation, um, he was always the one that seemed to be there to help me and get me out of things that maybe might have turned a different way had he not been there. And so anyway, so that was the reason that I got this documentary finished when I did, because I mean he had been diagnosed with a terminal illness, and time was very limited, and it was going quite quickly. And so George, get out of there. Excuse me, just a minute here. Get out of there now. Get out. Thank you. So, as you can see, what he's like. And so, I wanted to write that, get it finished, to bring him um, some comfort, to maybe remember some of these things that we did, places we went, and the different happenings that happened during the time we would be on the stage, and what we would see, and I wrote it from like my perspective of what I remembered, what I saw, and of course the different things the guys would say, and in the band, and their take on things and stuff. And so I wrote this and got it finished um, for Harold so that his family could read it to him, which they did, and it brought him, according to what they told me, some smiles, and and that's right here. That's what I did it for, and that helped me to come to terms with knowing Harold was going to pass, and and has helped me since. Um, you know, as I say, for someone who was a fair bit older than me, um, I really had a strong connection with him. And in many ways, he was almost like a father figure to me. He was the oldest boy of my dad's twin brother's children. And so we all of us grew up together. Um, the farms, my dad's farm, which was my grandfather's farm, and my Uncle Bill's farm was side by side on on the end of a dead end road, and so all of Uncle Bill's children and my brother Rick and we were always back and forth, and we, spent a tremendous amount of time together. And then Uncle Bill sold his farm and bought a different farm about, I'm not good with mileage, but I would say 10 miles, maybe not even that, away from where we lived on Grandpa's farm. And even after they moved, we still spent a tremendous amount of time together, back and forth. Um, uh, and I well remember Uncle Bill's farm where he moved to, and we just had so much fun times there. And there was always instruments laying around, and then when the band formed, the Midnight Ramblers formed in 1961 era, in there, 61, 62. And it was just my father, my brother Rick, and two of my first cousins who were brothers to each other, Lloyd and Alec. And these were Uncle Bill's sons. But they were a bit younger than Harold. And Harold didn't come into the band until about 1962. I think the band, might not even been a year that they were going when Harold joined as drummer. And then he learned to call square dances, and he did that as well. And so and we had so much fun together, all of us, and so very special times. And so um, I still, coming to terms with Harold's passing, and through writing that biography documentary that I did, it certainly helped me. And because it just brought back so many good memories. And the further I went with it, writing it, the more things came back to my mind that I remembered. And even since I finished it, I've remembered different things. And but the main reason that I wrote it was for Harold, to bring some enjoyment to Harold in the last few days of his life, really. And so as I say, the 1st of February marks the passing, the 48th year since my dad passed. And then with my mom, my mother passed on September the 18th, 2015. I had my mom 40 years longer than my dad. My dad was 13 years older than my mother. And but my father passed very young. He was only 66 when he passed, and way too young, way too soon. I was 25 when Daddy went home, and so you don't know. Everybody is different, and the way that they perceive and they accept things that you have no control over. You can't change. I mean, if you could, you definitely would. But there's certain things in life that you cannot change. And losing your parents, um, it is difficult, and everybody is different on how they cope with it and manage to accept it. And but it's something that every one of us, unless fate has a different path or something, um, that each one of us have to endure at some point in time. And if you're fortunate to have your parents until they are extremely old, um, consider yourself fortunate. As I say, my dad was 66 when he passed. My mother was 93. She would have been 94 had she lived until Christmas Day. So, I mean, for Mama had a long life. She made it a long ways. Whereas my dad, you know, not so fortunate. And I have one friend whose father is 101 now, and I think that that's just phenomenal. You know how blessed she is to have her father um, that long, and I hope he hangs in there for a few more years to come, and because she hasn't lost a parent yet, she's lost a brother. Um, which was very devastating for her. They were very, very close, and I mean, losing a sibling, losing someone who's close to you, regardless whether it's a sibling or whether it's a cousin or whether it's a friend. When there's love involved, um, you love that person. It is very hard to have to say goodbye, and because until you pass, you're never going to see them in physical form again. And so that can be very difficult to cope with. And so, but we manage because we have no choice. And so cheers. I'm going to have a little bit of ginger ale here. And it's hot chocolate weather. I think I'll have fix myself a hot cocoa when I finish this video. And so, as far as business is concerned, I have, as you can see here, Returned Autumn, which is part one of a two-part sequel to The Perils of Autumn. And I released it back in November, and it's doing okay. It's out there, and I've had a few sales come in for it, and I'm promoting it, and my producer is promoting it, and some different sites are promoting it. So, that's all you can do. You put it out there, and you just, there you go, bird, fly, and a hope for the best. And so, for anybody in Niagara, in the Niagara area, all of my work, not just my autumn series, but all of my work is exclusively available at Lakeside Books and Art in Ridgeway, Ontario. Beautiful little bookstore. Um, if you're in the area, please take that trip and that little drive to just outside of Fort Erie and check out Karen's shop. It's just a beautiful little shop, and it's filled with gorgeous art, local artists, and local writers, And of course, she carries bestsellers, whatever you want, she has it, or she can get it for you. And and it's filled with antiques and toys, and it's just lovely. And George is back. Yes, he's back. And so I hope you're enjoying him. You're not finding him a distraction here. Sometimes if I would want him in my video, he'd be nowhere to be found. But he's here, and so anyway, I'm very proud of the Autumn series, and the second part, Return to Autumn 2, is slated to come out in March. I mean, now that may change. Things are kind of getting backed up a little bit. Um, so I may push it to April. I'm not definite on that yet, but I may do that. And to keep it more in keeping with the beginning of the Triple Crown series in the United States with the Kentucky Derby. And so we shall see and how that goes. As it stands right now, it's supposed to come out in March, but as I just said, I may postpone that until April and release it in mid to late April, and in celebration of the Kentucky Derby. Um, Most of my work seems to be more popular down in the United States. I'm much better known in the United States than I am here in Canada, which is kind of ridiculous, really, when you stop and think about it, because I am a Canadian author. But Canada, I don't care if this sounds, um, I don't even know the adjective, whether it's just the bookstores and here do not get behind their local authors. They do not support their local talents in the arts, whether they're writers, whether they're artists, whether they're musicians, vocalists, actors, actresses, poets. They just do not they do not support and stand behind them. Whereas in the States, it's a different story altogether, and it doesn't have to be members of the arts that are American. They are wonderful for helping to support and promote Canadian artists in the arts of any kind, as well as anywhere else in the world. And so, and I am very grateful for that, and I'm very, very appreciative. So, to all you down there in the States, thank you so very, very much. And so I've just passed the 30-minute mark, and so I'm going to sign off for now. And I will be back to do my Valentine's video in, let me see, just Valentine's is just over 2 weeks away. And so, but I'll be back before then to do my Valentine's video. And for anybody who is interested in my work, please go to Rusty Blackwood on Amazon, and you can find all of my titles there. And you can also visit my website at rusty-blackwood.com, and you can check out everything there as well. So for now, I will wish you all the best. God's blessings to each of you. Please stay well, stay positive, stand strong, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye for now. Bye-bye.